Good morning, and welcome back to the Invo Insider Podcast June edition. It is officially summer. I guess it's already been summer, but it's officially summer. I'm your host, Ryan Heffernan, and thanks to all who are listening, whether it be on YouTube or Spotify, and for all of our Invo Insider live stream attendees, thank you again for listening. I'm, of course, joined by my co-host and noted mountain climber, Jake Martin. How are you doing, Jake?
Good to be here, Ryan. Yeah, I'm sure you're going somewhere with that mountain climber comment, but I'm going to take that as a compliment.
Yeah, I won't lie to you. Normally my intros are more detrimental to you or not as kind to you. I couldn't think of one this week. So mountain climber, that's kind of nice. I'm being generous to you. But yeah, we're going somewhere with it. Jake just got back from Montana. I got to spend some time in the mountains. If you maybe follow his LinkedIn, you might have seen that. We're going to get to that actually in a minute, but we have an awesome podcast prepared for you this month. We have Danielle Nelson from Bank of Farmington joining us today.
Danielle.
She's the operations manager over there. We're excited to sit down with her and hear what's going on up there in Illinois. And geographically, they got to be some of our closest friends. They're not super far from us. They're only a few hour drive away from Missouri. So
not very far.
From headquarters down here in Springfield, it's not that far away.
That's right.
Before we get to Danielle, I want to dive right into our Invo Monthly segment, give Jake a chance to talk about his trip to Montana this past week that is relevant for this podcast episode. He got to blend a little bit of business with fun, with some family time, as you saw, like I said, on LinkedIn. If you saw also that luggage tag that he had, that is Summit luggage tag. That's one of two promised plugs for the Invo Summit in this podcast. So it's a good time to get that plug in. If you want to get a lot of free stuff that's more expensive and worth more money than that luggage tag, sign up for the Invo Summit by going to invosolutions.com/summit, plug over, register today. Now the plug is definitely over. But with that said, Jake, do you want to maybe start us off by telling us a little bit about what you experienced up in Montana?
Yeah, I'm more nervous about the budget now because I've already heard some of the rumors coming out of the Summit Strategic Group meeting and items that people are willing to get maybe just forced through the budget approval committee.
Let's talk about them.
Yeah, I've heard the rumors, Ryan.
My budget is notoriously small. I never have a big budget.
Ryan
ever.
manages the largest budget in the company outside of, I would say, payroll.
Can't confirm that.
It's true.
Can't confirm.
I am confirming it right now. This is when Ryan gets to squirm. So, yeah. Hey, Ryan is absolutely right. First of all, it's great to be here, and thank you, Insiders, for joining us. And we've got a great episode in store for you. We're going to have a lot of fun today. And I just got done having a lot of fun up to the north. And so it was great to spend a little bit of May in the wonderful state of Montana. Did the best parent award thing you can do, pulled your kids out of school, took them with us up there, and of course they thought that was a big time deal.
Hold up, you pulled them out of school this late in the school year? My parents would never do that, ever.
Well, you know what, your parents are more responsible than I am.
Yeah.
But I'm a big believer if you get a chance for your kids to experience something that they would normally just read about, you should absolutely do it. And that's exactly what we did. So national parks, definitely close to my heart, something that my family and I enjoy quite a bit. And so we stayed just outside the western entrance to Glacier National Park, stayed technically in Kalispell, Montana, also visited Whitefish while we were there, and made our way into the park as far as we could. It's still definitely wintertime in part of that area, and so there's from what we found out from a park ranger, roughly 18 feet of snow on part of the road that they refer to as going to the sun road, and that sun needs to hit that road. So
light work.
So it'll, right. Great time, beautiful, and you're absolutely right. Fortunate enough to also have an opportunity to sit down with a potential new client for Invo Solutions and someone we've been talking to for quite some time, scattered throughout the state of Montana, and got a chance to visit one of their locations, take a look at the innovation they've got on their radar, really talk shop about what we can do to maybe bring some of our resources, some of our tools into their environment to better serve that customer base. I always just enjoy getting a chance to hear an institution that's been around serving these communities for decades looking at innovation to bring the customers closer. And I have a feeling we'll probably talk a lot more about how you can bring your customers closer through digital tools today when we talk to Danielle. But it was really good to get to hear from someone who's looking to do that in that part of the United States. And the way I look at it is we get them on board. I'm going to have to go up there and see them again to just see how successful they were at deploying this time next year.
Yeah.
So maybe a little foreshadowing. We do a little on-site. I think maybe we need an Invo Insider Podcast field trip.
I want to go on some fun trips.
Let's do
That
it.
sounds good to me.
Yeah, I'm here for it.
No, it's always good to hear, even from non-clients, from just banks and credit unions throughout the country. It's good to hear what they're doing. It's interesting to me. It's actually one of the things. This is actually a second plug. This is not a scheduled plug, so you're going to get a third plug for the summit. But that was one of my favorite things about the summit, was hearing just how everybody uniquely is deploying these strategies, how everyone is even just doing, right? Since 2020, it's been crazy. So just hearing from other banks and credit unions is always interesting to me. And obviously you go to different states, different contexts, and you have a lot of different situations and circumstances that each state's dealing with, and Montana's no different. So I actually want to put you on the spot here. This wasn't planned, but I want to put you on the spot. I know you love the mountains, so I'm just curious. Montana, Colorado, what's your favorite one?
They both have the Rockies in them, so technically it's the same mountains.
That's not my question. Listen, I'm a noted outdoorsman, so I don't want you to question my outdoorsmanship.
Yeah, if you could only see the boots that Ryan has on right now, you would be amused. No, for me, it's been interesting. I grew up only visiting Colorado, so we in our family did not travel a lot. Had two parents that worked, and my wife did as well. So neither one of us traveled much as a kid. And so when we became married, we decided one of the things we wanted to make sure we allocated our budget to annually was vacation. And so we've really made an effort to travel quite a bit. I love Colorado. For me, Colorado right now is probably the primary destination for me if I'm going to enjoy winter sports. It's easier to get in and out of logistically. But over the last 3-4 years, I've been fortunate enough to visit Wyoming and Montana, explore a different part of the country, different mountains for sure. As you stated, it's absolutely beautiful. And so I would say I've given roughly 2 decades to Colorado. Still visit there. We actually have quite a few clients in Colorado, so we're definitely blessed for that. But I have enjoyed exploring a new area for me in the United States, in Montana and Wyoming. And I would say that right now, this is the second time in 3 years that if you include Wyoming, this is the third year in a row we've been there. So, but I've also been to Colorado that same amount of time. Yeah. So can I just say it's a draw?
A draw.
Is that fair?
Yeah.
I don't have the answer you're looking for.
No, you can say that. I don't actually have an opinion on this. I love Colorado. I was kind of like you growing up. I didn't go on a lot of vacations, but for me, it was because I played baseball and that was nonstop. I didn't have time for vacations. We couldn't go to vacation. And then whenever I did go to vacation, I went to Washington, D.C., places like that. It wasn't until I was an adult that I went to Colorado and looked at the mountains, and it was pretty unbelievable. So I think whenever I went there, I never wanted to go anywhere else. I got a buddy that lives in Montana. He sends me every once in a while the temperatures of Montana. Makes me less apt to go there depending on the time of year. Got to be careful. But I couldn't give any feedback to say. I've never been to Montana, so I'll trust your gut on this one. So saying it's a draw does not really help me at all with my question. But yeah. I mean, it's good. It's good for
there's
both,
a saying I heard one time that said that if the Lord was a painter, he saved his best colors when he got to the mountains.
Okay. I like that one. I like that one.
And
Flying over the mountains the same. Yeah. Yep. Mountains, it doesn't get better than that. I love the beach. It just does not get better than the mountains. But, you're in the mountains. I'm not sure that you reached the summit. And if you want to talk about our corniest plug for the Invo Summit, that is the corniest plug. You can reach the summit at the Invo Summit.
Oh, wow.
So maybe another opportunity to just talk about the Invo Summit. Give our listeners a good reason to come to our yearly summit.
I'm trying to recover from what just happened right there.
That was hilarious. I'm so funny.
Yeah, it was fantastic. Did you know that Ryan is our creative manager at Invo Solutions, and you're wearing that badge proudly today? Yeah. Full disclosure, I think Ryan might just be anxious. I've actually asked something completely different of him today with the podcast, and you're getting a chance to see that. So he'll actually be running the interview today, kind of a transition in how we conduct our sit-downs with our guests, and you'll get a chance to see that shortly. But I think Ryan's mind has already moved onto that. So
yeah, be nice to me.
Some forgiveness there. I've got more grace than you could expect. It's okay. But he's right. Really, we can't stop talking about the summit for a good reason. So I'm giving Ryan a really hard time. But to be honest, we're very passionate about this event. It's one of the most important things we do every year. The summit is taking place the last week of September, and we are every week adding something new to it. And we joked a little bit about the about the swag that comes with that. That's just an opportunity for us to give back to our clients and our future clients. But we're lining up speakers. We're lining up some educational sessions, some training, some forum. environments where we can really workshop some things. Some things we did the same last year, but definitely introducing new things this year. We're obviously launching our first ever Invo Invitational Golf Tournament, which makes a lot of people in the office very excited. Ryan may or may not be one of those people.
I'm trying to come back around on it.
It's going to be great.
I'm trying to get there.
It's going to be a good time. We just pray for the weather in September in the Ozarks. Anything can happen. But I'm excited about it. Actually sat down with Andrew Buchanan. He's our director of product to workshop ideas last week about what do we want to make sure that we bring to the finish line leading up to the summit. And I was actually shocked at the list of new product features and enhancements that we're going to be debuting between now and the summit, but really announcing at the summit. And so I'm telling you, man, it's gonna really shape up to be something awesome this year. And for those of you that aren't aware, I'm pretty sure that Ryan will plug where you can go to find out more.
Yeah, that's invosolutions.com/summit. Simple, invosolutions.com/summit. You can go and sign up there. You can see all the details you need to find on that page, all the details that are available to us right now, which is actually a lot compared to what we maybe had in years past whenever we were doing this for the first time. So yeah, just go over there, sign up. It's an awesome event. I love the summit. There's no lie here whenever we said that last year the summit was nonstop for like 2 or 3 weeks straight for the Invo staff. We're putting this thing on, but then whenever we actually got to the event, it was one of the most fun work weeks of my life. So it's a blast just to get to talk to everybody, get to see everybody, and then to get to see awesome content presented. And I've gotten a little bit of a sneak peek on some of the content he was just talking about. Not a lot, but I know a little bit of what it is, generally speaking, and you're not going to want to miss that. It's going to be awesome stuff to see. So yeah, I'm excited about that. invosolutions.com/summit. That's where you can go to sign up. But with that said, I think it's a good time to transition to the feature that we're all here for, the interview. Got to sit down with Danielle Nelson of Bank of Farmington, had an awesome conversation with her. So without further ado, let's transition over to that interview. Well, welcome Invo Insiders to a very special and a little bit different interview this afternoon. I wanted to shake things up a little bit. So for those who have watched the Invo Insider live streams, but maybe haven't seen my face, or if you've watched the podcast, you might know who I am. But if you don't, my name is Ryan Heffernan. I'm the creative manager at Invo Solutions. I almost got my own title.
You're trying to give yourself a promotion over there. Unbelievable.
Hey, you never know.
Danielle. Yeah, Danielle's here to keep you accountable. That's why.
Speak it into existence. No, but I'm the creative manager at Invo Solutions, and I'm, of course, joined by our president and COO, Jake Martin, who you just heard from. We'd both like to extend a very warm Invo welcome to Danielle Nelson, coming to us from Bank of Farmington. So thank you for joining us, Danielle. How are you feeling about this decision at this point?
Feeling great. It's going good.
That's good.
Going good so far.
Yeah, we've already started with me almost getting my title wrong, so we're off to a really hot start. No, we read in the show notes. I know that you have a favorite vacation spot in Florida, which we had mentioned. You haven't maybe heard it, but we mentioned at the top of the podcast that Jake just recently got back from Montana. We know that he loves the mountains. I love Florida personally. I didn't know if you had any favorite spots in Florida specifically that you like to visit.
So we go to Madeira Beach every year. It's kind of a more populated spot. It's good for the kids because it keeps them entertained. We always stay right next to a park that has a splash pad, baseball fields, basketball courts. So we are 5 minutes from the beach. So we just get up, we do our thing at the beach, or we can go to the pool and swim. We've been doing this for about 5 years now. So it's something to look forward to in April every year.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's right around that time too. It's nice down there in Florida right now.
Not back, so
our family usually goes to Destin. We're going to Orlando this year. I'm a little bit bummed. I'm excited for Orlando, but I think I'm going to miss Destin a little bit. I know Jake would probably rather be in the mountains. I'm not really sure if he's a beach guy or not.
Yeah, you guys are going to get me in trouble with Mrs. Martin because she would definitely vote for the beach 100% of the time, and my daughters would also agree with her. I try to pull rank, which is really not anything in my house, to go to the mountains. But no, I think we do a really good job of trying to accommodate both. And I think that for me anyway, that both of those places can be relaxing and enjoyable, and they're very much different from an environmental standpoint, but both are beautiful. And so I'd say make both happen in a year. That's the happy medium, right, Danielle?
Hey,
try to make
I
both
can definitely
happen.
get on board with that for sure.
All right. See?
Yeah, I go back and forth. I love Florida. I love the mountains. I go to Florida more now than I used to go to the mountains, but you can't really go wrong. But no, we're excited though to have you, Danielle. Excited to hear what's going on at the Bank of Farmington. And me and Jake, like I said, we're going to kind of tag team it today. But really, my goal here is to kind of curate this conversation between you two. I just want to start off with you, Danielle. You're the operations manager, vice president of IT support at Bank of Farmington. Come from a background in the industry, specifically maybe in sort of the electronic services, tech side of things. But you've been there for nearly 7 years, if I am not mistaken. If you could just maybe start off by telling us a little bit about Bank of Farmington and what makes your bank unique.
Sure. I believe that we're unique in a way that, when I kind of first started at the bank, we were kind of catching up with technology. We had, the online banking app and the bill pay and things like that, but we really kind of wanted to be at the forefront of that technology. So over the last 6 years, we've really ramped up our programs, our offerings to our customers, just to make sure that we're offering the latest and greatest in the banking world. So that's kind of our goal right now, is just to make sure that instead of kind of being, behind on the technology, we're kind of the trailblazers of technology.
Yeah, I was going to ask because, I mean, just trying to stay competitive, right, in the market. How are some ways that you guys have maybe looked to stay competitive, specifically with your technological options?
Sure. So we actually stumbled across Invo Solutions a couple years ago and kind of knew right away that was the way we needed to go with our technology. So looking at video banking and text banking, I think that will be really big in our market eventually. We're kind of the newcomers in this market as far as where we're at. So people are kind of hesitant right now to use it, but we're doing everything we can to just kind of push it out there. And make sure that people know that we are here to stay and we have technology and, we're a great bank to work with. And, we have the things that you need to connect with us and communicate with us, young and old. So that's what we're just trying to find that good niche right now.
Yeah, I think that when we first started talking, I was impressed immediately with the vision for that strategy and all of those technology that you've talked about. But how take us back to the beginning, Danielle. How did you in the bank decide to select and prioritize investing in some of these different tools and technologies, Invo or otherwise, to meet the customers of the bank? Like, what did that decision-making process go, and how did you arrive at this is going to be the strategic 1 through 5, what have you, to accomplish those goals?
Sure. So, of course, COVID kind of accelerated all of that. We were in a pretty good position when COVID hit. We still had the means for our customers to still effectively bank with us, but we wish during that time we had a little bit more. So as we navigated through that pandemic, we decided that we needed more. Hopefully that it would never happen again, but if it did, we would be ready more than we were the last time. So that's when we brought in ITMs. We talked about it a little during COVID. And we thought, no, that's probably not the way we're going to go. But then as it progressed and extended out, we thought, this is what we want to do. So instead of just having a regular ATM, we want to bring that technology in. We want to do some construction. We want to get our drive ups with ITMs, and that's the way that we need to go. And so we kind of decided to do the ITMs first, and then it all kind of went hand in hand and snowballed from there with video banking and text banking.
Yeah, the ITM strategy is something I think we see, and Ryan and I have looked into this, probably roughly 85 to 90% of clients at Invo that we're fortunate enough to serve are also ITM users. That's a significant capital investment. It's also a significant strategic shift in operations. And then the customer experience it can be dramatically changed. And I heard a little bit there, but I would like to dive in a little further, if you don't mind, on that topic, because I think it's really helpful for some of the insiders that are here today to learn from you in developing a strategy, because maybe they don't have a clear vision for, hey, what's next, right? And they're looking to pioneer that what's next. So ITMs at the onset of COVID, what a great thing to have in place. And you mentioned the strategy. So was it exclusively outside the branch in the drive up, maybe like out in the pneumatic tube area, off-site? Walk that out with as much detail as you're comfortable to kind of explain it to somebody who hasn't made a decision on a strategy yet.
Sure. So we first looked at our ATM fleet as a whole, and we had to decide, what kind of brand of ITMs that we wanted to go with and where we wanted that to be in the future. So we took a look at NCR, and we thought that was the best way to go on that. Our life cycle, basically, for all of our ATMs, we had to take a look at that, planning, end of life for some of them, and where we were at with all of that planning. And then we decided, let's start at our main branch. Let's get an ITM in there. We put it in our vestibule, so it was inside. And we had that inside the vestibule for, a few months. That way we could accustom our customers to it just being right there. We can take them to it. We can introduce it. It's not, we didn't want it to be a thing. We just kind of wanted it to be like this new technology that we had to introduce them to. We're not forcing them to use it. We just kind of wanted it to be there. And then once we got done with all of that, we decided, we're going to start replacing our drive-ups. So we started with a remote location from our home office here in Farmington. It's a smaller community, smaller branch, and we decided that they had one drive up, so we're gonna stick a ITM through the wall there. So the adoption was a little rough at first. With any change, there's always challenges, and we knew that the adoption was not going to be, within the first 30 days. We knew it was going to take a while. So once we got done there and everybody settled, and of course we had construction there, but then we moved on to our Farmington branch, which is our main branch. We replaced the 2 lanes. We had a through the wall ATM and then 2 drive up lanes. So we took the through the wall ATM out. We revamped the whole construction, put a new canopy, or the new driveway, put a canopy up, and put 2 new ITMs in there. So that took place last December, right in the middle of the very, very cold winter. But we stood out there for, a few days and just introduced it to our customers, the ones who were not familiar with it from being in the vestibule. And then, we stood out there, we introduced it. And again, people were a little hesitant of change, but it is catching on, and people are feeling more comfortable with it. So as far as our next plans, is we're just going to hit all of our drive-ups when time allows us. We have some construction at each branch, so it's a little bit harder logistic-wise to figure out all that stuff, so it takes time. But eventually we will replace all of our drive-ups, and we do have one remote location that we'll put an ITM, and that will be basically a pretty much full-service branch, just in a little dusk. So that's kind of our plan so far in the next 2 years-ish.
Yeah, it's awesome. I think actually it's kind of funny because on the podcast I think it was last month or maybe 2 months ago, Derek Rudolph actually said something very similar about deploying the tech of want to deploy technology that isn't like intimidating. It just seems kind of normal, that just kind of blends in, like people wouldn't maybe think twice about it. And if you wouldn't mind, I kind of want to dive into that just a little bit deeper because you come from a tech background or just dealing with like electronic services, that side of things with the financial industry. And I was just curious if you could maybe share your thoughts on what customer service looks like today digitally compared to maybe in the branch. And obviously you're merging those things together, but if you could maybe just look at that comparison, how those two things interact with each other.
So I do remember watching that podcast with Derek, and at the end of it, I was messaging some of my coworkers saying, see, it's nice to hear that somebody else is kind of doing the same strategy. It's just not putting a lot of pressure on it. But where was I going? Where was I going with that? I don't remember.
No, you're good. I was just curious. I just wanted to know, looking at like how the customer service has maybe changed in the branch and adding those digital options, like what does that look like?
Yeah, so in branch obviously is still the most preferred method of most customers, but our digital offerings allow us to do so much more than just having a video session with a customer or being able to co-browse with them and show them our website. We've actually put video banking in place as our online account opening option, Monday through Friday, and then on some hours on Saturday. So instead of buying a account opening module, I would say, we're doing video banking, and we feel like it's a lot better for our customers because it's face-to-face. They still get that warm handoff and contact, and they feel a little bit more comfortable with the whole process. So that's kind of where our strategy was. Instead of having an online form that you fill out and you submit and you wonder what happened to it or who's going to contact you or when they're going to contact you, we decided that, the online video account opening is our best option. So that, some people love that. It's still catching on, but when we do tell people that we have it, they're like, oh my gosh, that's so awesome. That's exciting. So a lot of people like it, but there are some that say, nope, that's not happening. And then I will walk into the branch. Even if the branch is open 1 hour, I will walk in there on that 1 hour and I will do my business. So we still want to make sure that we're treating every customer the same. We're giving them that small community feel and that personal service. So that's kind of what we're after there.
Yeah, I think that's probably the thing I like the best about successful strategies in deploying stuff like this is you always have that true north of customer service, right? So we understand today you're trying to solve for operational efficiencies, staffing challenges, something we talk about almost every single week now with someone who's seeking this out to solve for hiring challenges, retention issues, or even just retention of employees and talent in general. But if you don't have a true north of customer service as the litmus test of success, then you're kind of just chasing shadows, it seems like, all the time. How are you measuring quote unquote success? Are you engaging the customers after these interactions, whether it's at the ITM or with the video banking exchange? Are you doing surveys? Are you following up with them? If you're comfortable sharing that, I think that those types of feedback loops are more important than ever, and I think it will help others to maybe find success even quicker than maybe they would if they weren't measuring some things. What are your thoughts on that, Danielle?
Yeah, no, we are doing some surveys at the very end of video banking. We do have, how are we doing? Did we help you with all your needs? How else can we help you? So we are doing that at the end of video banking. As far as the ITM side goes, we just receive customer feedback when an experience is great or when an experience is bad. And those just come in generally, through email or in person. I know our remote branch services team does do some tracking of that as well and reaching out to customers and making sure that everything is satisfactory and that we've met all their needs. So we have a separate branch, or remote services branch that does our ITMs.
Yeah, that's awesome. I know that from our perspective, so whenever I'm looking at even online and the sort of ads that we run and the way that we're promoting like Invo products, one of the feedback that I get most, or some of the things that we get the most clicks on, is reports and those sort of those management tools for management. And I was just curious, we kind of just mentioned that a little bit, but those reports, those surveys, kind of figuring out how the customer is feeling after, how has that maybe helped you with your staff, like maybe training your staff? Has that been something that's been beneficial to you guys?
Oh yeah, for sure. It's just knowing our metrics and where our customers are at, and what their feedback is, and we can kind of share that amongst the group, and we can kind of decide how we can help our products be better. Right now we just introduced video banking, and we have had a couple video banking sessions, but as we're trying to navigate that newness of the product, we have stuff on our website now that says open an account online. But then if we're not available, how do we make that experience better for the customer? Because they're just going to get a message that says we're not available at that time. So we're working through all of that, just making sure that experience is not frustrating for the customer, and that the first time that they click on that video link and they can't get to a person, how are we getting them to the next step before they get frustrated and move away or move on to a different website? So that's kind of that.
No, that's helpful. And kind of on that, I guess, even diving a little bit deeper, looking at maybe some of the challenges that you're facing in customer service. So there's challenges obviously that come with deploying new technology, and you see those things. Maybe you're trying to solve for those right now, but maybe what were some of the challenges that you were looking to solve with Invo tools? What some of the customer service challenges and just in general that you're facing at Bank of Farmington?
So staffing is a huge, not problem, but it is a challenge right now. And being able to have somebody designated on a video banking call or a text banking call, to be able to help a customer, maybe they're in Farmington and the video banker is in Williamsfield, one of our branches. No one's available in Farmington to help, but we have a video banker available that they can help you. So that kind of limits or spreads out that, the new account opening process so that more people can help the customer and be available just not right there in person. So we're trying to work on a designated area inside of our branches that if, one branch is short staffed, then we can have a video banker, or we call them live bankers, available to help them to alleviate some of that pressure for a branch that is short staffed or, is just extra busy that day.
Yeah, I love that. And I think that this is one of the biggest success stories I hear all the time is how do we allow our branches to serve one another, right? And that's basically what you're doing is how can we have our great people at Bank of Farmington available at every location? Because if and I'm just going to use this as a conceptual example, but if the downtown branch is super busy, but these two branches that are, out in the periphery of town are not busy, how do we allocate their time and resource and expertise to serve one another? And you can't replicate good people, wouldn't that be great? But you can bring them now to every single location simultaneously. And we have some that consolidate and bring them together kind of in that call center type scenario, and sometimes that's a strategy that doesn't even evolve for 2, 3, 4, 5 years into this. But in the meantime, you can turn key having all of your great people available everywhere. And then when it's available online and digital, it's available everywhere, like anywhere your customers are at. They can always come and see their best people and best resources at the bank. Have you had any trouble? And I'm going to kind of just take a stab at a question here. You may or may not have a good answer to it yet because I know you guys are still kind of in that learning phase. But have you had customers that are surprised that, I can see my banker no matter where I go, to what branch or what location I go to, or even remotely, when they realize that these really are Bank of Farmington employees? You didn't outsource this.
Yeah.
Like this is just a tool to bring your people closer to them.
Yes.
Is there anything there that you would want to share?
So when we implemented ITMs, we learned a lot of things about just speaking about the ATM or ITM machine and not calling it a machine. People literally thought it was like a outsourced person. Or when we first marketed our ITMs, we actually our ITM banker that we had designated at the time, we kind of put her in like an avatar situation, and that's how we marketed her. Her name is Eva. Mm-hmm. That's what our ITM names are. It stands for Electronic Video Assistant, and we have her avatar on all the advertising, so people kind of thought she was a cartoon character or an avatar. So we quickly learned that wasn't a good marketing strategy. And then just calling the machines, or calling the ITMs machines, they didn't really like that. So that's kind of how we got through those challenges, was just learning people liked and disliked and what they caught on to and what they didn't catch on to. But as far as once they realized that they were people inside of a machine and, that's Rachel, she worked at the Farmington branch before, we know her. That's the biggest thing, is just getting people out to the machine and just showing them and introducing them. So a lot of the times, we don't say, hey, why don't you go run that deposit through the ITM? We'll just say, hey, let's go out there, let's check it out. And I'll to Abby or Rachel and just, make an introduction. You may know them. And then once they pop on the screen, people are like, well, I know her. They warm up to it way quicker. And it clicks kind of. It's just kind of see the click there.
Yeah. How about a round of applause for your willingness to also pivot? Because, we know that that's not easy. Going back to your example of the ITMs, which is, you developed not an ad campaign, but kind of a campaign around, hey, this is how we're going to give it a personality. We're going to give our people this vision of an avatar, for lack of better words. And I've seen exactly what you're talking about at other community banks as well. And then you get the feedback from the customers like, this does not have the desired effect that we had hoped, right? But instead of saying, no, we're going to stay the course, we're going to make sure that this is successful, going, okay, maybe there's a better way to communicate that. So just a round of applause for being willing to stay and remain flexible and to listen to the customer. My goodness, just listening to the customer, I think, leads to success 99% of the time. I think that's great.
Yeah, I think even what I alluded to earlier in the seeing reporting, like how popular reporting is in the stuff that I do, because obviously I'm on the marketing side, so I have a different perspective maybe than some of the other people here at Invo. But in my mind, I'm like, well, reporting's not going to perform well. It's not what people want to see. It's not what I'm necessarily writing or building content around. And then all of a sudden you just see everyone clicking on stuff that's about reporting. It's like, I guess that's important to people. So maybe we should focus on the things that are important to people. And maybe just to build up that a little bit, I'm curious because I've alluded to earlier today that you have a background in electronic services, that you've been in this sort of this arena of the financial institution or the financial industry for a while. Just curious, obviously, with new tech like this, where it's face-to-face interaction still is not replacing people with technology, it's face-to-face. How maybe it was like the implementation of projects maybe like 10 years ago, or whenever you would implement new digital features, stuff like this. What was maybe the adoption then compared to the adoption or even just the likability of products like this now for your customers?
I would think that it's definitely was more challenging back then, just trying to get that new product out to people and convincing them that this is something that they actually need in their life. Instead of, it's just a lot different. I've been in the banking industry for almost 20 years now, and digital products mainly my entire career. And it's different now because it's changed so much. Like technology has just ramped 100% in my opinion, from where it started off when I first started to where it is now. So it's a lot more challenging back then to get people to cling on to things like that. You relied a lot on your frontline staff to kind of cross-sell those products. And we still do now. I mean, it's very important that we cross-sell and we get in touch with those customers face-to-face through, constant contact email, through our online banking messages. So, but now it seems to be a lot easier to kind of get the word out, especially with social media. I mean, that's a no-brainer right there, is to get that stuff out on social media and just make sure that we have a up-to-date website and things are easy to find on our website, because we know a lot of people go there to find information, and if it's buried, people get discouraged or frustrated and they move on. So
yeah, I'm going to ask you a follow-up question to that, because I just had this asked of me the other day, and it was about social media and how do we run that effectively at the financial institution. So this is more of a how are you doing it at Bank of Farmington question, but do you have someone that was already doing marketing and advertising at the bank that now has assumed that responsibility, or do you guys have a dedicated role that is overseeing social media and some of those outlets exclusively for the bank?
So our marketing director, she actually does oversee all of our marketing for Instagram, Facebook, website. She does all that constant contact. She is fabulous. She does all of our brochures. So she's kind of our designated point of contact for all of those. And she is amazing. And we tell her what we want, and she somehow knows exactly what it is that we want, sometimes without little information, and she just makes it all happen. So that's awesome. We are very blessed in the marketing area that we have her, and she can do the things that we sometimes can't say out loud and just think about. She's really good.
And then also think of the things that you can't say out loud, right? And keep you out of trouble.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. She keeps our compliance in check as well for us.
Yeah, good. That's just as important, isn't it?
Yeah. I maybe want to shift gears just a little bit here, and maybe focus just a little bit on the specific tools you're using. So I know we've talked about customer service and hiring, like the difficulties of staffing, sort of how these tools maybe alleviate some of those things. But I just want to maybe dive into the specific tools and features. I know you guys have chatbot, you're using some of those things. I'm just curious what, maybe not necessarily from a customer standpoint, or maybe from the customer standpoint and the staff standpoint, but what would you say is maybe the tools or features that you have seen the most growth from, or maybe you've seen have been adopted the quickest, or maybe that your employees like the most? Are there specific features that you've really just kind of grabbed onto?
So Invo Text is definitely something that we have really enjoyed. We just rolled it out a couple months ago, but it's catching on a lot faster than I feel like any of our products and services have in the past, just because it's easier. And once we get it out there, they're like, oh, we can text. And it's not just a balance. You can literally have a complete conversation with somebody over text banking. So I feel like that's been adopted really well in our area. And I'm really looking forward to mass texting when that comes out, because I really feel like that's going to be a huge game changer for us. We'll be able to really push that number out there. And once people, I always prefer to text if I can, but once people know that it's there and they can have a conversation with us, even outside of banking hours, it's going to be a no-brainer for everybody. So that's probably my most favorite technology so far, ITM being probably the second, just because it's just cool. And
Yeah, Yeah, mass texting coming in June. A little foreshadowing. You might already have that information. If not, you need to go and call James and bust him up on that. So,
no, I think even what you said, like people want to text, and that's one of the things that we talk about a lot. Where I know there's maybe I would say a stigma among texters. Like obviously, no one likes the group chat. I think people don't like to be in those sorts of text messages. But if you look at data, I mean, I think it's like 75% of people want their bank or credit union texting them. They want to communicate with their financial institution via text. It's what's the most accessible. And even with, I think the read rates like 97% or something of texts get read within the first 3 minutes or something crazy like that. So specifically, like if you're talking about convenience, right? Like what your customers want from you, how they want to contact their bank or their credit union, their financial institution, that really is what they want. And that goes back to the idea of giving the customer what they want, the accessibility that they want. So that's awesome. And maybe staying on that a little bit, just looking at specifically how those tools and features have impacted your staff. So we've talked about a little bit with reporting, but is there, because we talk a lot about the customer and how it impacts the customer. And that's obviously what sort of matters most to us. But I think one of the things that I take away from talking to banks and credit unions about these tools is how much their staff benefits from it. So maybe from like a efficiency standpoint in your branches or even from your staff, have you heard feedback from your staff, from your employees about how it's been helpful for them to get their work done, help them interact easier with their customers?
Oh, yes, for sure. So when we first started talking about text banking, our loan officers, I feel like, were the most excited about it because a lot of them, their personal cell phones are, ways that they can communicate with their customers. And so their personal cell phone number is out there and their customers can contact them anytime, whenever they want. So you've got customers texting you on a Sunday night, asking you a question. So you're not really ever getting a break from that role. So they were super excited knowing that they could send out a text to a customer to say, hey, I need your payment. When do you think you're going to bring your payment in? And honestly, I think customers are more apt to answer through text than they are, they'll probably try to avoid your phone call or, not return voicemail. So I think they were the most excited about it, just being able to have a number out there that is designated only for this and that people don't have their personal cell phones. So, and just in general, sometimes it takes, picking up the phone is not hard, but sometimes it's like you don't have the time to do that. And so you can send a text, to a customer and say, hey, I need your internet banking authorization form back. And you can get that to us while you're answering another email. So multitasking for me is huge. So that's, I think the employees are definitely excited to use the service and have been excited. And our remote branch services staff, they are excellent. We made that into our call center. And so when they're talking to customers on the phone from all these different branches, they're also saying, hey, and by the way, you can text us or, hey, I'll text you right after this. So you have this number, go ahead and put it in your cell phone. So they have done a phenomenal job getting that number out to all of our customers and just knowing that they can contact us back has been huge.
I love that. And so that point right there, I think, is massive. So whenever you've deployed these technologies and these different, I would say, communication channels, we call them collaboration channels, how are you coaching your team to ensure that you're communicating it? Because that's also a form of advertising, right? Word of mouth advertising, which in my opinion is the best. So are you developing scripts? Are you giving them things to say? How does that work?
Yeah. So when we did ITMs, we definitely have scripts that we follow. It's important to know that all of our ITM bankers are on the same page when specific things happen. It's not so scripted that, they sound like robots in there, but, there's specific things to follow as far as procedures go. And I know that the remote banking services group also, when they're talking to people on the phone, they do have specific scripts that they would follow for video banking as well as call scripting. So they do a fantastic job over there, just making it consistent for everybody. And everybody's kind of getting the same answer all the time. And the call center has worked wonders for us. And we decided when we got video banking that it was time to kind of roll all that stuff into one.
So was that process a quick process? Was it something that you kind of just all at one time, kind of just put all your eggs into that basket? Was it maybe over time, or how did that process look? As
far as the remote branch services team or the call center, because it kind of all goes hand in hand. So when we got ITMs, we decided that we needed to have they all needed to be in one place with as a group learning together and managing those ITMs. And then it just only made sense when we rolled the video banking out and the text banking that it all kind of goes in there. And then once that happened, then it was like, okay, we need a call center. We need to kind of alleviate the staff at the branches, because they're getting a lot of phone calls. So we're going to give it to this group. And it's really worked out well. And that's probably evolved over the last 6 months, probably, when we've made all of these changes and, we've worked through them and this is what makes sense. And it's coming together very nicely.
We talked about this a little bit with customers, and we probably alluded to it a little bit even with staff, but was that something that was easily adopted or well adopted by your staff maybe as you were introducing it? Because I think over time, obviously, we get more comfortable with even just with new surroundings, but was that something that they quickly kind of grabbed onto, or was there maybe pushback, or how did that look?
No, they didn't. No, there was no pushback at all. I think they enjoy it. And they learn a lot. They learn about the different products and services that they may not have learned about, just answering the phone for their one branch. So they've kind of gotten an overall view of what each branch needs are, what people call about the most often. And they've learned a lot about other digital products that we have to offer. They had basic knowledge before, but really kind of been able to kind of dig into those problems. So they have adjusted very well. And I think I've only heard good things from the staff. They really, really enjoy it. So that's good. The adoption was easy for this one.
Gold star. I think you're the first person that we have talked to that has had a staff fully on board and supportive of a strategy that is a shift, a significant shift, which I think speaks a lot to the culture that you guys have fostered. So, I mean, seriously, congratulations on that. I love that. I think it's going to, and you've already seen this probably, it'll help adoption on the customer side as well, because when someone believes in it and then encourages the customer to enjoy the experience and encourages them to come back or try other channels like you were talking about earlier. Hey, next time you could also do this in text, or this is available in these different areas. That buy-in is tremendous. Yeah, you guys have done a great job with that.
Yeah. That's awesome. I want to shift now just kind of back to maybe the process of beginning with Invo. So you talked about this at the very beginning a little bit, but I'm just curious, and I'm always kind of curious to ask this question and hear the answer, but what were maybe some of the key determining factors as you were looking for vendors? What was sort of the things that made you choose Invo over maybe somebody else?
Sure. So after we met with you guys, we knew that it definitely was going to be part of our strategy. We just didn't know when. And we kind of thought a little bit further down the road than what we ended up at. But so we really needed to bring in an online account opening product. And so we started looking at those different programs, from 3 or 4 different vendors. And of course they were crazy expensive, and it didn't integrate with our core, and there's going to be a bunch of manual processes, and it just was kind of deflating as we went through that process. And it's like, let's look at Invo again, and let's look at video banking and opening those accounts online. And you know what? This is probably a lot better because we can see these people face to face, and we can get the customer documents that we need. We can do it right there while we're on the video session with them. Get the documents signed and out the door, and we're done. So bringing the efficiency of video banking was probably the biggest thing. But just being able to see those customers face to face and being able to do that, like I said, have a designated live banker in one of our branches, when another branch is short staffed. So that's kind of where we came up with the idea, like let's just do it. So that's what we did. We just dove right into it. So it's very exciting. It's been an awesome process, and we're just excited because we know when it does catch on.
So now kind of maybe just looking into the future a little bit. So we've talked a lot about what you guys are already doing, and even mentioned a little bit how, like, what you plan on doing in the future and maybe where you want to go. But I kind of want to just like dreamcast with you for just a second. Obviously, we're always getting better. We're always looking for ways to improve. So maybe just on top of the things you guys have already deployed, what are some things, I mean, obviously as far as you want to go with this, but what are some maybe innovations that you're looking towards in the future to continue serving your customers?
Gosh, video banking and text banking was at the top of my list and still is. Customer adoption is really important to us right now. That's kind of my dream, is to just see this thing so busy that we can't even expand it.
Yeah.
As far as other products and services out there, I can't think of anything off the top of my head, but I'm sure I have gone to a conference and I probably have been thinking this something is cool, but know that it's probably out of my range a little bit. So I can't think of anything, but I'm sure that there's something out there that I could buy that would be pretty cool.
Well, how about this? You had brought up the mass texting,
Yeah.
and the strategies that are possible with taking something like that to expand the reach to the customer base, and then, in my opinion, interact with them even more at a higher level and more even a more personal level. What are your thoughts on that? Have you been thinking of strategies that you would like to accomplish with that platform, and if so, when you do deploy and put that in place, what are you looking to do with the customers? What are you looking to accomplish?
I think for that, number one, just getting that number out there, just in a mass text, so people understand that that's what it is. I mean, we can do all the marketing we want on Facebook and billboards and things like that, but until people actually have it in their hand without them having to do something, I don't think that there's going to be a lot of people that are just going to pick up the phone and text. There, like I said, there have been some, but once they have that number and they didn't have to do anything to get it, I think that there is, like I said, it's going to be a light bulb. And then just being able to send out, promoting our video banking, and hey, do you need to open an account online? Do you need to update account information? I feel like the sky is the limit with mass texting, getting new rates out there. Looking for deposit accounts, because that's what we're doing on a daily basis, is looking for those deposits. So I just feel like it's going to be huge. It's just being able to reach so many people. Texting is so popular that I just feel like that's going to be our ticket right there.
No, you got it. And you even though at the beginning you're like, what were we going to do with this? You literally went bullet point through bullet point. You've already got a plan in place. You're ready to go.
Oh, I'm ready.
And you're looking at the right things. And Ryan referenced some of those stats earlier, but I mean, texting is what it is today because it's convenient. People are willing to respond to it. It's, this thing doesn't go, or I don't go anywhere without this thing, right?
Yes.
And neither does anyone else. And so, yeah, I like that. I think that's a great next project for the bank.
I have to ask this. This isn't in our notes, but as a marketing person, I kind of have to ask this because we've kind of referenced it a few times. But I'm personally curious about, you've talked about how you market your texting and even your ITMs, how you kind of worked with those things. But I'm just curious on your sort of marketing strategies between something like text and just your video banking. Do you guys sort of merge those campaigns? Are they all completely separate? Or maybe just as far as you'd want to go into detail, like how do those things work for different features?
So the video banking and text banking, we have kind of merged as far as marketing goes. I mean, our biggest point is that you can bank with us anywhere, anytime. So, you have a picture of somebody on a beach that's, doing text banking, or, they're in a combine and they need to do something, they can text us or video call us. So we've kind of combined those two products and just said, hey, this is super convenient. You can do it anywhere, anytime, just all you have to do is, text us or click on this link. So that has been a joint effort, I think, as far as that goes. And then it all just wraps into everything else, online banking and all those other services.
Yeah. Are those things that you're just maybe having pop-ups on your website, maybe just a little link at the top, or have you been using social media maybe to push those things? Like, what are sort of the avenues that maybe you guys have used?
Both. Definitely social media. We do send out a lot of constant contact emails out to people. We have rearranged our website just a little bit because we did find, as we were working through the video banking and text banking, everything was a little buried. So we've brought some of that stuff up to the very front page. We put video banking out there. We have, contact a live banker now to open an account. People can click on it. And we've actually built a different products page. And after each product, we have open now. So it's just a button that they click and then it takes them directly to video banking. So we've kind of rearranged our world a little bit, but it's for the better. And, we probably needed to do it for a long time. So now our customer can go to our website and they can find the things that they need in less than 3 clicks, which I think is very important.
Yeah. That is the important thing. Yeah. And I think, and obviously this stuff is sometimes hard to track, but have you guys seen success from those things? Have you seen, maybe you can maybe even be from like personal testimonials or word of mouth from customers, but has it been from your experience, easy for your customers to find? Have they been able to get where they need to go quickly because of those campaigns?
Yeah, I think so. Like I said, we've had a couple of video banking calls, and I would assume that they've come from our website since we've brought that all up to the surface. So, yeah.
On a side note, did you volunteer to take that picture to promote live banking through texting on your website, the beach picture?
Oh, I could have. I've been trying, to get us to put a branch down there, but nobody seems to be.
It makes sense now.
No, keep pushing. We've got your back.
Thank
We can go ahead and get some noise behind that, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's never a better time than right now.
That's right.
There's never a better time than right now. Yeah. I love that, though. While you were talking, I actually brought your website up because I hadn't been on the website since you went live with some of this new messaging, and I love that. And I will tell you right now that giving the customer the choice to choose how they're going to interact with you is a winning strategy no matter how you deploy that. So like the fact that you try it digitally, try to be self-service, or would you like to call us? Would you like to text us? Or would you like to click right here to get somebody live in video?
Yeah.
That lets the customer choose the avenue.
Yeah.
I mean, and that is what it is all about, is convenience for the customer. And it's not up to us to decide what's convenient, right? And I think that we've seen a significant shift. And I want to say, being selfish as a consumer, but my expectations as a consumer, probably like yours, have significantly changed in the last 3 years. And I expect to be able to have a choice of, do I want to come in? Is it on my way? Is it convenient? Can I do it from my laptop? Maybe my mobile device is the closest to me right now. Can I just do business with you through that? And then equipping the customer to choose at any given time what's the most convenient. I mean, that's going to drive the Net Promoter Scores up. It's going to increase the strength of loyalty from your customer base. And you guys are doing a great job. So hats off to you on that.
Yep.
Yeah, I actually do. I love that on the website, even on your accounts page, when it says open now under each different account, and it takes you straight to the video banking portal. I think that's tremendously effective, and maybe not something I see a whole lot on banking websites, where there's a straight line call to action, where like you see maybe video banking or a chatbot or these sorts of digital features on a bank's website or credit union's website. And you say, okay, well, I can talk to an agent if I need to. I can do these different things. But there's not a direct correlation between, I can open an account right now. Like, this isn't like I need to go schedule an appointment. I need to do this or that. I can right now, from where I'm at, open an account. So I think that's a call to action that I think I don't see it a whole lot. So I think that's a really good strategy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm clicking on it right now. Let me give this a test drive right now.
You're about to get a new customer here.
Right?
If you could promise that you have a bank location on the beach, I think you will definitely have a new customer, or in the mountains maybe.
Yeah, I think Danielle will take the photos and the branch from the beach, and then I'll take care of the mountain views.
Yeah, that's perfectly fine with me.
No,
Make
that's
that
great.
happen.
I just have a few more questions as we begin to maybe wrap up. We always kind of end with a very similar line of questioning, and one of those questions is asking just for maybe testimonials. So we love to hear stories of customer experiences of whether it's video banking or whether it's the chatbot or text. So I was curious if you had maybe any stories that come to mind, just of hearing your customers maybe telling you or experiencing these tools in real time.
Yeah. So I was talking to our remote branch services manager the other day, and she shared with me a customer experience that they had with video banking. And they are a customer that is about an hour away from here. And they're in a much bigger city than Farmington. And Maddie was telling them about video banking, and they just thought that was the coolest thing ever, So it's kind of nice to hear that they're in a very populated area, and video banking is not something that is offered in their area. So little old Bank of Farmington, comparatively, has this really cool, awesome feature that you can use, and the customer doesn't have to drive an hour here to accomplish what can be done over video banking. So that was kind of cool to hear that there's in such a populated area, and they had never heard of it. And then we've received a text actually just last night that the customer has said, well, this is just a wild technology. So I don't know if wild was good or wild was bad, but I did answer him back, and we were able to make contact with him about a commercial loan. So people, once they hear that we have it, I think they're like, wow, that's incredible. So that's why I think it's going to catch on eventually, and it's going to put us in a really good spot for the future.
Yeah. We'll take the wow as a positive.
Positive. That's the new tagline. Bank of Farmington, wild about banking.
Wild about
yeah. I like that. That is the mark, though, of even what you were saying of maybe someone from a more densely populated area talking about these features. That's innovation, right? That's what you want to be at the maybe cutting edge of technology. It's cool to experience in real time whenever you hear, oh, well, that's us, right? We've been trying to be there, but that's us. So that's cool to hear. And maybe even on that note, because maybe that's something that makes Bank of Farmington unique, but maybe something just maybe leave us with one more impression of what makes Bank of Farmington maybe different than the rest.
Sure. Definitely our technology. Obviously, we are finally at the forefront of technology instead of trying to catch up with everybody else. But just still having that community feel, being involved in our communities is very important to us. In all of the communities, we have 4 different branches and different markets, so we're all very heavily involved in those. Just making sure that we're not losing that customer experience, that personal experience. We don't ever want someone to feel like they're, calling an automated system or they can't get through and they're getting frustrated. So we just want to make sure that we have all this cool stuff, but we just want to make sure that we're still thinking about the customer when we're implementing it, and thinking about all of our customers, not just, older generation, younger generation, or the to making sure that, like you said, there's different options on the website. We want to make sure that we're trying to appease everybody, and make sure that we get that out there and they have the choice. Our customers are our lifeline, so make sure that they all feel like they have a choice on how they work with us and contact us and communicate with us.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Great.
Do you have anything else, Jake? Any other questions?
No, I'm good. I just wanted to say that I think there's been a tremendous amount of insight that you've shared that is going to be a significant benefit to not just community banks, but just banks and credit unions in general that are looking at, hey, what should I be looking at or considering? And being comfortable to step outside the comfort zone, because I think one thing that I see consistently is being afraid to do something different because maybe it won't work or it won't be accepted. And not even starting because of the fear of failing. And you gave us several examples of, hey, we tried this and it didn't work, or we tried this and it didn't work how we thought it might. And your willingness to go, that's okay. Like, it's okay that didn't work, or it's okay it didn't work how we intended or how we planned, but here's how this specific bank at Bank of Farmington went through this and came out on the other side successful and are already looking at what we're going to do next. I can't tell you how refreshing it is to have this conversation when you guys are moving so fast and being so successful at it. And Danielle, I think you've written a playbook today for a lot of people that it's going to be very beneficial for them.
I have a great team that surrounds me. And we are all on the same page and we all have the same goal in mind. So that helps a lot, just push forward and challenges will come, but we'll get through it and we just do it. Done.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So we're going to put you in a hot seat now, and we're going to introduce a brand new segment that we've never done before, and you're going to help us pilot it, okay?
Okay.
And so we decided what we wanted to do is to bring these interviews to a close with something fun. We're going to call it the Fast Five. And what the Fast Five is are 5 questions that Ryan's going to ask you that we just want you to respond off the cuff, respond with the answer that comes to your mind first. And if it's inappropriate, we'll just edit it out. So don't worry about that. We just want to know exactly what's on the top of Danielle's mind.
Are you sure you went with me?
100%. Yeah, 100%. We knew this was the right time. It's just the way that it is.
You never played guinea pig? Never been the guinea pig before?
No.
So this is going to be good. So Fast Five is a series of questions Ryan's going to toss your way, and we want you just to respond with whatever comes to mind first, and we'll have some fun with this. Does that sound all right? All right, let's go.
All right, first question. Describe your partnership with Invo in one word.
Fantastic.
There you go. That's great. I personally love this segment.
Yeah, so far so good. 1 for 1.
Yeah. Second question, not on business topic. If you could have coffee with one historic figure, who would it be?
Oh, geez. Historic figure? Oh, wow.
That could be anyone.
Like anybody?
Someone from your history book. Just anyone in the history of time. Who would you want to have coffee with?
Oh, there's so many. I would probably have to choose a comedian. I would probably have to go with probably Kevin James.
Oh, nice.
Okay.
I didn't expect that. That was good.
I did not expect that. That's a good
I like
one.
that. 2 for 2. You're doing great.
Yeah, that's a great one. All right, this is third. This is specific to Invo and the Insider. So this is going to start some conflict potentially. But who wins in an argument, Hope or James?
Oh, Hope.
Yeah, you're right.
Staying on the good side.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Right. Sorry, James, but she's right. All right, number 4. Describe Bank of Farmington in one word.
Successful.
Successful. Yeah, we're
I like
4 for
that.
4. And then lastly, whenever you are retired, what do you hope people in the industry say about you? We got deep on that last one.
I know I don't like health evaluations. That I changed the game. That I helped Bank of Farmington pave a new path, and that put us at the forefront of technology, and that I made it successful. Is what I would say.
Yeah, that's a great answer.
That sounds great.
Yeah,
I
that
don't
was
know
a
if we're
great
ever going to be able to
answer.
do this Fast 5 segmenting. We're not going to be able to top that one.
I know. Should we just stop with where we started?
Yeah, we're done. It's not a recurring segment anymore. It's over. No, thank you very much for joining us, Danielle. It's been an awesome time with you this afternoon. Do you have anything else that you maybe want to add? Maybe one last thing you want to tell everybody before we jump off the call?
No, I am absolutely perfect over here. I'm going to end on a good note.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, that works. Well, if not, thanks again for joining us. And I guess at this time, we'll turn it back over to studio to James and Hope. Is that right?
Sounds good.
All right.
Thanks, Danielle.
Thank you.
Thanks, Danielle. All right. What an awesome time with Danielle. A little bit more stressful than normal. First time for everything, I guess, leading it. But I thought it was awesome. It was enjoyable to get to sit down, have those conversations. And I thought it was very insightful.
It was, yeah, and quit giving yourself such a hard time. You did a great job, Brian. And if those of you insiders here today thought Ryan did a great job or a bad job, go ahead and leave some comments.
Why would you get that last little one there?
That was great. I enjoyed it for sure. Yeah, I was just thinking back to a lot of the things that we talked about were relevant to strategy conversations that we are having on a weekly basis with potential new strategic partners at Invo. And I think if I was to break down what jumped off the page to me, I think the first thing that they talk about at Bank of Farmington that Danielle's heading up is that text, how big of an important conversation and collaboration tool that is. And I would just urge you as an insider that if text is not a part of your strategic plan, it should be. And that is not a sales pitch. It is more of a suggestion to stay even, and I would say this is a little bit of an aggressive word, but to stay relevant at a time when customers are only as loyal as the service that they're receiving in that moment in time.
Yep.
And so if text is not a part of your strategic plan, it really should be.
Yeah. And I'll just to maybe build off that. I mentioned this a little bit in the interview, but just to give some final stats, I think I wasn't exact on them, but just some kind of eye-opening SMS text stats. 95% of all SMS text messages are opened or read within the first 3 minutes.
Hold on a second. I've got a text message, Ryan.
Yeah, exactly.
See,
first 3 minutes, that's a big one. Read, not just open, not deliver, but read. That's such a quick delivery time. And then 98% of SMS texts are opened or they're opened at a 90%. Oh my gosh, I'm going to start over. 98% of texts are open, period. So that made that way more complicated than I had to. But 98%, compare that to in the financial industry, the email open rate is 23%. So when you send an email out, once out of every 5 times is going to be opened. Yeah. When you send a text out, it's pretty much as close to 100% as you can get. Yeah. And then to go further, even on responsiveness, SMS texts are opened in the first 90 seconds. That's sort of the average time. So a minute and a half when you're going to get them opened. And email average response time is 90 minutes. So just dramatic differences in responsiveness. It's such a dynamic tool. And from Invo Solutions perspective, obviously you can go to invosolutions.com/text to learn some more about not just our platform, but the necessity for SMS text. But it's actually something that's kind of on creatively on our hearts right now, where we're kind of building out some ebook content. There's some blog posts about text because we've just gotten that feedback from customers. It's just an important thing. Like, it's something that customers are looking for. So yeah, to get to hear her talk about the emphasis they put on that was really encouraging.
Rule of 90s. That's what I call that.
Yeah.
The rule of 90s.
Yeah, I need to learn the rule of 90s better than I just learned it.
No, you're good. You're good. Yeah. So a second thing that really jumped out to me in that time with Danielle was that, deploying tools, whether that's technology in the branch, technology on mobile or online, can truly lead to not only just being more successful in deploying technology in products and services to your customers, but it's about being relevant and being where your customers want you to be. And today, I believe that as a financial institution, you need to be available 24 hours a day. And I understand what kind of an ask that is, right? So how do we deploy branches that we can staff appropriately and efficiently? How do we put tools online in our mobile channel that can service customers and members when the branch is not even open? How do we support self-service experiences that are successful? I think that you need to be looking at what can you deploy today and what are you looking to deploy over the next 3 to 5 years to serve your customer base where they want you to be. It's not about where we want to be as a financial partner. It's about where can we be that our customers want us to be.
And I think you even look at what she was talking about in that interview, and I think she mentioned another bank or a customer, another bank that was in a more heavily populated, densely populated area, probably a bigger bank. Yep. And that customer was saying, well, we don't have this here. You guys do have that. So there's something to be said about what the customer wants, the accessibility the customer wants. And as much as that is a daunting task, or it seems like a daunting task, like, it is possible. Like, and I think, like, the word that comes to mind is automation, which is a negative word. But whenever you pair that with these tools, it's automating these tasks, but it's face-to-face interactions. It's totally different. They're not getting a bot. They're not getting a sort of like a canned message. They have the opportunity from wherever they're at to talk to an agent, to complete transactions. So I think what she really showed me, or at least what we got to see from her interview, was that that's possible. It's possible to make branches more efficient, to have the processes be easier on your staff, while at the same time offering those services that your customers want. It doesn't have to be one or the other. It can be both and.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and I mean, for me, the last thing, I guess my third point would be not being afraid to try new things. And I think that a lot of times we will try to develop the perfect strategic plan or the ideal vision for where we're going, and we create this concept that has to be perfect. And a lot of times what that leads to is it becomes a non-starter. Like, we literally stop before we even start. And I love how Danielle was completely open and honest about the fact that, hey, we tried this strategy. If you think back to the ITM deployment strategy in marketing and advertising, that amazing technology, the ad strategy didn't work. In fact, it even probably dissuaded some potential customers from trying it. But you know what they did? They didn't try to force that message further. They didn't try to tweak that message. They listened to the feedback from the customer and said, you know what, forget this. We're gonna listen to what the customer's saying, and we're gonna try something different. Plan B. Let's go that direction. And the same goes for technology in general, and trying things, putting it, whether that's where do I want the widget to reside on my website? Where do I want the button to reside in my menu? What should it look like? What color scheme should it be? Don't be afraid to try new things, and don't be afraid to fail. I think that's the part of that she didn't verbalize, but in her mind was probably a close follow-up to that, not being afraid to try new things, is not being afraid to fail, because that's going to make you think outside the box, do something that others in your space are not doing. Back to Ryan's comment about being competitive in a very competitive industry that we all operate. But don't be afraid to try something new. Don't be afraid to fail. And you heard right there from Bank of Farmington, directly from Danielle, many examples of what I would say. Some of us might say, well, there was a failure. But what they did was they pivoted and they went a different direction. And today they are significantly successful because of that.
Yeah, adaptability. That's a really underrated quality. Maybe something that we don't talk about as much as we should talk about. The ability to pivot, the ability to have the humility to say, okay, that didn't work, and that's okay. That's not even to say you have to throw the baby out with the bathwater whenever that happens. You can have tools, you can have features that can work in a certain context and just weren't, maybe that strategy didn't work, and you have to have, I think some of this too is not just maybe the fear of failure, like not wanting to fail, but I think part of it is how you respond when you do fail. How do you get up off the mat whenever you maybe like in their instance, this campaign didn't work the first time. So it didn't just say, okay, well, I guess it didn't work. They went back to work. They went and found another solution for it. And I think that adaptability is rare. I think it's something that is not just in this industry, but just in general. I mean, listen, I'm a Royals fan. I've watched my team do the same things for years and years and years. And outside of a 2-year stretch where it randomly worked, for 25 years, it's been, let's try the exact same thing that never works. And there's something
Royals, the definition of insanity.
Yeah, no, I know. Sorry. It's painful, but it's just reality though. It's not even just in this industry, it's in every industry. You have it's hard to adapt, it's hard to change. So I think that's a really valuable characteristic of Bank of Farmington. I think it's part of the reason they've been so successful. So I love that. It was a great conversation, but as always, we've come to this point, it's to ask, what's the bottom line, Jake?
Yeah, I think it's, for me, reflecting on what our conversation was today, is to not be afraid to think outside the box, to fail, but always really striving to create delight in your customers. That's my vernacular. Those are my words, but that's really what I walked away from this conversation with Danielle thinking about. And with this example specifically, it was choosing technology that answered a call. And I mean, they were deploying ITMs pre-2020, which was past the bleeding edge, but still somewhat cutting edge. And for those of you that are here today as an insider that had ITMs deployed for retail strategy, you saw the fruits of that investment during the times of lockdown and the rapid adoption that followed that. But you had foresight to think, okay, this is an area that we can improve, and this is technology that can meet that need. And so what that for me really shows is checking those boxes. We talk about this all the time. Ryan gets tired of me talking about, but how do we create better operational efficiency, and how do we create better customer experiences simultaneously? You cannot silo those things. And today I think we heard good examples of not being afraid to think outside of the box while also delighting the customers and checking those boxes simultaneously. But it wasn't flawless. It didn't go perfect the entire time. They tried, and they tried again, and they tried again, and today they're already looking ahead to what's next. I know that Danielle already shared some of those things. They're already thinking about what's next as they're deploying their current strategies. I think it's just a tremendous takeaway today.
Yeah, no, it was really good to sit down with her and hear this. It's encouraging. I mean, I'm always encouraged by these interviews. It's good to hear real-world testimonials. One of the reasons why I love the Summit. It's why I love the Insider. Getting to hear actual people with boots on the ground in completely different contexts.
Yeah.
We talked to, Mobile Oil, we talked to them last week, completely different than Bank of Farmington, just completely different contexts. But to see each unique strategy is really encouraging to me. And then again, just to see their adaptability, their, like you were saying, like the not having the fear to fail, to be able to push forward, try to find new technologies. And ultimately their goal is to serve their customers. And that's, I think, what we try to push for every single month on the Insider Podcast. So that's the mission, right? We want to serve our customers, want to get them the tools, the features that they need that will help make their lives easier, so that for the person in your community that needs your access to their tellers, to their bank accounts, whatever it might be, that the features that they need, they have access to immediately. That's ultimately the goal. So it's always encouraging to hear that. And I think honestly, my biggest takeaway, for these last few minutes, is just don't do things like the Royals. Like that's a pretty strong way to think about life. Don't do things like the Kansas City Royals. Be different than
Wow. Wow.
I'm not bitter or anything.
I know. I'm worried that you might have a fever. I've never heard you talk negatively about the Royals before.
I don't know, man. I feel like I have, but I could be wrong. We're
converting Ryan to a Cardinals fan.
That is absolutely not true. So
well, that sounds like it's a step in the right direction.
I think Bank of Farmington would not be my friend anymore up there that close to Chicago. I mean, I'm sure they're Cubs fans. I can't possibly be
There's plenty of people that live in Illinois that are Cardinals fans.
All right, we've talked too much about the Cardinals already. Okay, I'm kind of tired of that. So with that being said, I think we're out of time. I think that we are out of time for this podcast. Make sure to subscribe to us wherever you get your podcast from. Watch us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts.
Do it.
Sign up for the next Invo Insider live stream. That's July 5th. So what's that? That's fresh after Independence Day. Is that right? Are we doing that? Maybe it's the next
I think it's
Wednesday?
The following week.
Wednesday?
I think we're going to let everybody have a breath of fresh air that week of July.
No fireworks on the Insider?
Oh, there'll be fireworks.
Okay.
we'll just spread it out over a full week.
Okay, well then maybe not July 5th. It won't be directly after Independence Day. Maybe the 12th. That sound better?
I think that sounds. I will be there on the 12th. Yeah. If you want to be there on the 5th, you go for it. Sounds like something the Royals.
We'll have my own live stream. It'll be the Ryan Show. But anyway, July 12th. That'll be the next Insider event. You can go to invosolutions.com/insider to sign up for that. You can also watch the June Insider by clicking on the link in the description, whether it's on Spotify or YouTube. You can watch that. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel either, as well as visit invosolutions.com/summit to sign up for the summit. Last plug, I promise. I think that's all I have for this month. Jake, do you have anything else?
Night.
No, we're good. All right. Until next time, Viva la Invo.